This is Meet the Movie Press. It's Friday, September 21st, 2018. It's Fukunaga. Cary Fukunaga. Star Wars Episode 9. And I bring Nick Cage and Blumhouse together. It's a beautiful thing. Plus, the box office and the week's big releases. Stay tuned.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Meet the Movie Press.
It's Meet the... Shush, it's a library. This is our church. Behave. It's Meet the Movie Press. My name is Simon Thompson. Welcome. It's September 21st, 2018. So much to get through. We're going to speed through this. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Showbiz Simon. I have a Facebook page. This is Simon Thompson. And you can see my work everywhere from E! News to Forbes to Reuters to the BBC and beyond. Even sometimes in Sci-Fi Now magazine, among others. Welcome to the show. We got a lot to get through, as I say. Joining me, as always, is Demetri.
Hey, movie fans.
And someone you might not remember from the show. He's a newbie. What's your name? Skeet?
I like to be called Scoot. Scoot.
They can't meet these Scoot. They can't meet these Scoot. First of all, Demetri Panos, welcome back.
Hey, good to be back.
Who are you? Where can we find
My
you?
name is Demetri. You can find me here at the Popcorn Talk Network. Meet the Movie Press, the best show about movies and the business that you can listen to and watch. Also on Anatomy of a Movie, also on the Popcorn Talk Network, where we talk about movies. We break a movie down. We do about 2 a week. This week, we look to do The Predator and A Simple Favor. So tune in later on today. And if you've seen the movies, come and join. That's where you can find me. Oh, and on the Twitters at DMovies1701.
And Scott Menzel, welcome back.
On the Twitters.
The Twitters.
Guys, it's so great to be back.
It's,
I
well,
missed you guys, you know.
I mean, you're here.
I mean, yes, the audiences have gotten a little bit of a different crowd.
It's called diversity. Welcome to the new Hollywood, my friends.
Yes.
You don't say. You don't say. You mean I wasn't just at a film festival where they just invited 200 people from underrepresented voices to Toronto International Film
Fantastic.
Festival. So I am Scott Menzel. I am happy to be back with these two guys.
Welcome back.
And I do a plethora of things. I do We Live Film, which is an extension of We Live Entertainment. I also am on this wonderful show. I'm on another show called
Clearly
Black
you've never
Tomatoes.
seen it.
Yeah, clearly I've never seen it. Yeah, never seen it.
Clearly you've never seen it.
Never. I'm on Black Tomatoes at 5 p.m. on Black Hollywood Live, which is on Sundays. And then, of course, I do the LAOFCS, their favorite.
LMNOP.
Yeah, MLMLP weekly. And that is on Fridays at 11 a.m. right here on the Popcorn Talk Network.
Well, unfortunately, we don't have any time for anything else in the show.
Welcome
Christ.
back.
We need to work on that. That needs to be a little bit tighter.
Shorter, yeah.
A little bit tighter. So we have a lot to get through. Talking of Toronto,
Yes.
you met some people, real people who actually watch and listen to the show.
Yes.
Ricky was one of them.
Ricky, yeah. And he was amazing. I actually met him at the Telluride.
Telluride, yeah.
And he was just awesome, and I got to talk to him for a little bit.
Really?
And we met outside one of the I think it was the front runner screening, and we talked a little bit. And he's a real passionate guy. I think he's a diehard Damien Chazelle fan. He has a La La Land tattoo.
Holy shit.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
I was pretty impressed by that. So that's a movie lover, if I
That's
do say
something
so
you don't
myself.
see a lot of.
No.
La La Land tattoos.
No.
I don't think I've ever heard of anyone or seen anyone with one.
Yes.
Kudos.
Yeah.
Kudos to Ricky.
Absolutely.
For him. That's,
Yeah. No, it's a great movie. I mean, I've got a Police Academy one on my ass cheek.
Which one?
Is it the
Is it
sixth?
5?
Yeah,
What,
5 or 6?
which movie or which ass cheek?
No.
Anyway, let's get talking about the week's big movie releases. Okay, we touched
So
on some of them.
cheeky.
No, we're going to talk about the news first of all. We touched on some of this in the intro. Bond 25 has got a director again.
Yeah.
Danny Boyle out. Cary Fukunaga is in. It's now going to open in 2020. Now, Fukunaga's name was thrown around quite a while ago around this Bond project. Didn't get the job, went to Danny Boyle, now he's back on top. A lot of people saying this is the first time that a Bond's director has been more attractive than James Bond. Yeah, I've got to say, he's a beautiful man. He's a beautiful man. And his work has been very interesting to date. What do you guys think about this hiring?
It's an interesting choice
It is,
for
isn't it?
sure.
Yeah.
he's kind of had his hit and misses.
Yeah.
And this is kind of coming off, isn't it? The HBO show that what was it? Oh God,
True Detective,
the second season, which I know people really, really did not like.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he got a lot of backlash for that. So I'm kind of surprised that they're putting him in right now. But it's also like they want to give someone a chance. They want to get this freaking movie made at this point.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. They want to get the movie made, and I like the fact. I mean, they're taking a risk.
They really are.
Because,
that's a good way of putting it.
But not unlike when you hire folks like the Russo brothers who came in from TV comedy,
TV,
to do Captain America.
And smaller movies.
Right.
I mean, Collingwood was their first movie, which is not a hit, not a big movie, interesting cast.
So it's almost like they're taking a page from Marvel or Disney, where let's bring in a guy who showcases some talent and maybe he's good for the project. So I'm just very fascinated. And if Daniel Craig and the Broccoli's are on board with this, maybe he'll put something fresh, or we'll make it, make this.
Well, yeah, I mean, we say about that it needs to be made. It's not exactly if the Broccolis are under pressure. The Broccolis, they will wait until they're happy to press the green light, the go button. They're not going to take this. They've been burnt before. They're going to make sure they feel they've got the right tools for the job.
I also want to say that there is so much anticipation around this Bond film now.
Yeah.
I mean, this is insane. We've been through directors. We've been through all these talks. We're not even out of this movie, and we were talking about who's going to be the next Bond.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, there is just so much build up to this that this movie better pay off.
Well, I think it has to, in a sense, because we had talked about this earlier in past weeks about Bond, where Skyfall, to me, especially of the Daniel Craig, ranks really up there. And then, Spectre, I liked not as much as Skyfall. A lot of people were very soft on Spectre. I liked it a little bit more than a lot of other people. But if this is in fact going to be Daniel Craig's last Bond,
it needs to be on the money.
Go out with a bang.
Yeah, no, we've touched on that before, and obviously the release date is going to be quite interesting. It's going to be Valentine's Day.
No more 50 Shades, so we need a replacement.
I was going to say, But, I mean, did anybody go and see 50 Shades on Valentine's Day?
When the first one came out.
Yeah, true. I mean, I'm just like,
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I don't want sticky seats on Valentine's Day.
Yeah, well, I don't know where you go to the movies, but I didn't go.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
clearly
maybe,
the skankiest of places. The dirtiest movie theaters.
He goes to the places where they have the covers, the plastic covers.
Well, like Studs in West Hollywood. One of the last remaining porno theaters in Los Angeles.
Instead of cup holders, it's disinfecting wipes in every seat.
Well, they're cup holders. They're just not used for what they're meant to be used for. So February is going to be really interesting because we previously had them sort of, summer and end of year.
Yeah.
I can't remember a Bond movie, and I might be incorrect on this, that's come out in that window, that February. But it's a window that is usually reserved for awards movies, that January, February kind of coming out around the Oscars type thing. Now, 14th, depending on where they hold the Oscars that year, it really might affect whether they can be nominated for any Oscars that year because the film might not have been released or agreed in that window. Could that potentially... Because obviously some years Oscars are in March, some are in February. This year, for the next one, it's going to be in February. Last year was early March. It was right at the end of the calendar. So that might also, because obviously Bond is often put forward for these things. BAFTA probably won't make that much difference because BAFTA's around the same time as well. So they'll probably let that sneak through. But if they're looking for this to be like they have with other film series where you reach the end of an installment and end of an era and you go like, actually, we're going to save loads of awards for that. And I'm not saying director or best movie, but I'm talking about some other areas. Will that affect that potentially, do you think? And that's obviously not going to be in the forefront of their mind.
It depends if the popular category comes back. So,
but that would be exempt from that because it wouldn't have been released in time to become popular, and then you get people basically falsifying a result because that's more of an anticipation award rather than a popular film award.
True.
Do you know what I mean?
True. Absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely.
wouldn't that also be? They would have to release it in L.A. and New York at least like 1 week in December.
Which they sometimes do release films here before the UK,
But I
Bond
feel
is
like
usually the other way
that's
around.
what I'm saying, and I don't
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know if this is the type of film that would do that.
It's an odd date, because ever since I've started seeing Bond in a theater, which was a while ago, it's either been the summer and then it's sort of migrated towards the end of summer to like November.
Yeah.
The past couple of Bonds
Novembers.
have been November
Yeah.
Bonds. So February 14th is a time too when there's not a whole hell of a lot out. Too. It's right after Christmas.
But here's the thing. This year, these last couple of years have proven
Yep.
that there is room for movies at the end of January and
absolutely.
in February
Oh,
that
yeah, I mean,
have
it's a
become
drought.
so incredibly successful.
and there's nothing else out, and if it's good, it can run for a while.
But it also spells bad times. And I've got a correction to make in just a second. But it spells bad for those movies that sneak out in January, February, and manage to claw back some money.
Yes.
When, the likes of 9 Lives, Kevin Spacey, that kind of movie where it's like people will go and see it because they want to go to the theater and there's literally nothing else to go and see. So that January, February thing where you sneak out those movies that you don't know what to do with, and maybe you can do it sometimes horror stuff that's lower end, or, they're not confident in that release. That's when it falls. So I think that could potentially put the shits, to be quite frank, up a lot of studios who are going to try and sneak that out. But obviously now we've got platforms they can release those on, where they can sell them in and recoup some of the losses, or, on some of the sales on that, but it won't be the same. We just need to correct something. You referenced Fukunaga's True Detective season. It was season 1, which is Beloved, that he did. He left before season 2, which
okay.
isn't Beloved, so just to correct
But
that.
didn't he have something to do with season 2?
I thought he did too.
Thought he was like a producer or something, because I thought it was his show.
Sky Patterson saying, I think MGM Sony Pictures should give Bond 25 a page 1 rewrite, go into production of the film in July 2019, December 2019 in Europe and Asia, release it in October 2020. Take your time. I think February is an odd time for it to open. I'm
it's
quite
definitely-
surprised. I would have thought maybe even like April. Beginning of the summer, because we haven't had a Bond summer event movie for quite a while. So why not do that April, early May, and have it coming out hard right at the beginning of the summer? Because it's going to play for ages.
It could.
Potentially, they decided against that because that's a very high competition time for screens like the holidays, where it's kind of like, okay, if you've got 5,000, if Bond's opening on 5,000 screens, I'm fully expecting this will be one of the largest releases in cinema history as far as screens go. Then you've got to turn around and go, hey, sorry Paramount, sorry Warner, we don't have the screens, Bond's in town.
Right.
And then you start to have a few kind of issues, and some of the major movies that studios put money behind don't get the platform that they look to play out on. But on Fukunaga, interesting choice.
Yeah,
And I think
definitely.
some of the best Bond movies have had interesting directors.
Sure.
Whether they've been the best Bond movies, I don't know, but some of the most interesting ones.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be really interesting to see. Let's move on to overall Star Wars production slowing down as Lucasfilm and Disney regroup.
Predicted right here.
I was going to say, I don't want to say, and Demetri tweeted this week,
Yeah.
that Hollywood is
Yeah.
listening. Now, I don't want to say that Hollywood is listening,
I do.
but he will.
Yeah.
I will.
Because we discussed this not like 6 or 8 weeks ago.
Yes.
And we said this, we thought this was going to happen. I'm assuming these talks were also going on behind closed doors at the time already. But it is a great coincidence that it looks like we might know what the fuck we're talking about.
If you say so, I mean, I
Yeah,
look,
I mean,
I don't
it's
say
true.
things.
It's-
Look, I don't say things
don't.
willy-nilly unless I have facts.
In fact, you don't say
okay?
willy-nilly
So
at all, to be
facts.
honest with
Yeah.
you.
Well, I don't know.
I think that's the first time I've done.
He's showing his age
Here's
right
your
now.
money.
Yeah.
Here's your willy-nilly.
We going bloody willy-nilly. Anyway, we'll get to Mary Poppins later.
Okay, governor.
Oh, blimey.
So,
Governor.
but
Apples and
I have
pears.
examples.
Yeah.
We can give examples. Star Wars being one.
Yes.
We're going to
get to
talk
this
about
later.
something later,
Yeah.
so I'll bring it up then. Miles Teller in Top Gun.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Hollywood is watching. Whether they want to look, they could be in the closet listening. I mean, they may not want to admit it yet.
Is that what you're saying?
They
You're
may
in the
not want to
closet?
admit it yet, but they're paying attention. And they're saying these guys almost know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Maybe we should take heed. So Star Wars slowdown. Of course you
Yeah,
have to.
It makes total sense. And this was always something that was a concern way back when we started to see originally the movies going like year 1, year 2, year 3, every single 12 months, it was always potentially going to be, and then you start slotting in, sub stories and spin-offs, and we noticed early this year that there's a point where you have a movie in theaters that people are starting to talk about, and you're still talking about the previous movie, and it's a wave. It's a constant wave, and it just gets a bit too much. And things burn. And also don't forget that we are part of the film community, so we see things very differently to the guy on the street. And they get sick of shit. It's like why I don't think we should publicize movies so far in advance these days.
Right.
Because people get very confused. They get bored of it. They think stuff's come out. We're not normal as moviegoers. We're in a bubble. And I just think this is something that's happening. And also I think they just need to slow down and make sure they get the quality right. Yeah. People will wait 2 years for another movie in a franchise. Harry Potter, Fantastic Beasts, great examples of that.
Right.
People will wait 18 months, 2 years, and then because you leave them hungry for it. You don't want to eat lunch right after you've had breakfast. You don't want to rush it. I think it's the right decision. I'm just amazed that it's taken them so long to get to this point.
They forgot what made the anticipation of Star Wars amazing.
100%.
And that is exactly what we were saying, what you just said, is that, Star Wars comes out. It was a few years, then we got Empire.
Right.
Empire left on this amazing cliffhanger. And it was still, we had to wait. So when they bought Lucasfilm, this whole idea, they felt the only thing that's been in this shield that's been able to survive
Shields
the
are down.
saturation is Marvel.
Yeah.
For some reason.
Well, it was interesting. I had a conversation about this just the other day, and the thing is about Star Wars, and we've talked about this on this show, is that the story is very much the same. So in every movie, it's the same thing, whether it's new faces or old faces. It's up against the rebellion. There's a big bad guy. And with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, even though the stories are very similar, there's a space comedy, or there's like a war movie, and then there's more and more characters, and they're all different in personality. This, even when you watch these new episodes, the characters feel like different versions of the original characters.
And apart from movies like Rogue One, which would be the equivalent in the Marvel universe of a, let's say, a Doctor Strange or a Guardians of the Galaxy, or a Black Panther, which is part of a larger machine, but also a standalone entity where it doesn't really, as part of the narrative, doesn't have that connection initially to the rest of the world.
I agree.
So I think, I think
should
it's
have stood alone.
Well, I mean, I think
You
it's
really hate that one, huh?
Which one? Guardians of the Galaxy.
No, Rogue One.
Rogue One.
I am not a Rogue One.
I love Rogue One. I mean, it's fine to disagree, but I mean, you're wrong.
I can prove to you that I'm right.
Okay. But the overall Star Wars production, I think, slowing down absolutely makes sense.
Makes sense.
I mean, we knew this a little while ago. We kind of felt that this was coming. But I think the anticipation is key. I think the story planning and I think the designing is absolutely key. There are several factors which I think they perhaps thought they could circumvent because of fan loyalty. But I think also fan intensity around this stuff is, there has been, and it happens with many franchises, there's been quite a lot of negativity around it.
Well, yeah, there was so much backlash.
And you don't give chance for that to burn off.
Yeah.
So you're going off the back of a burn into a new product where people, there was someone on Twitter, I can't remember who it was, that was saying the other day that they boycotted Solo because they were still so angry about The Last Jedi.
Oh,
and yet then they went, and yet then they somehow saw Solo and they were kicking themselves because it was a kind of a dick move because they actually enjoyed Solo.
But the
and I'm like, I just think you just need to give space for, pardon the pun, for this stuff to breathe.
Well, not only that,
don't take the oxygen out of the room.
They spent so much money. Disney has spent so much money investing in this franchise, right? Like it's like this was such a, what is it, $1 million, billion, gazillion dollar move, and when they started getting so much negative energy and so much negative press, not only from Solo, but what was it, The Force Awakens? Not The Force Awakens.
Last Jedi.
Last Jedi. Like they just. I think they realized that, okay, we need to slow this down. Otherwise, this franchise that we spent this much money on is not going to become valuable anymore.
You can't miss something if it doesn't go away. It's almost like a marriage. Any marriage, in order to be successful, you have to have a little bit of space, a little bit of room to breathe, a little bit of your own personal time where it's going off to another room or whatever. And it's not just marriage, any relationship. And I think if you if you spend continually so much time in a universe, in a relationship, let's quantify it as that, you get a bit pissy with each other.
Well, I also think the problem lies is that these movies, in a lot of ways, remind me of like a horror franchise that goes on too long.
Yeah.
Like you could think of like Saw or Paranormal Activity, where like as they keep going, you keep seeing the box office receipts, and then you keep hearing more and more people complaining about it.
Yeah.
And the difference between
going
those
through the
movies,
motions.
Yeah, and then the difference between Star Wars though and like a movie like Saw is that Saw costs like $10 million to make, so it's not a big deal. This is like a $250 million budget every time.
But I also believe, though, and I had this conversation not too long ago, I think a lot of blame should go on that faction of fans. I mean, they're really hateful, spiteful people.
They are.
So, and the stupidity
But these are
is,
fans
though,
that you can never satisfy.
Never.
Because if you give it to them all the
No.
time, they're like, rah, rah, rah. If you take it away, it's like, Star Wars,
but
more Star Wars.
To your earlier point about, like, they're going to boycott Solo, I think I recounted this story before where I overheard, like, the stupidest conversation about Solo. I was in line at concessions, and there were these two idiots behind me, and they hadn't even seen the movie. And they were talking about plot points. Well, one had, one hadn't. And literally it was like, yeah, how he gets his last name is really stupid. And the actual dialogue was, yeah, well, I haven't seen the movie, but I heard about that. Yeah, that sounds really stupid to me. They're not going because of that. Like, guys,
Well,
it's your fault.
My Jason Blum interview that I put on Forbes a few weeks ago ahead of the opening of Halloween Horror Nights.
Yes.
I stuck it on my Facebook page, and someone who I've never come across before basically responded by going, all of his movies are shit.
All of them.
All of them. And I
Okay.
said, okay, well, I disagree. I said, and you could see the conversation, but basically he hadn't seen the movies. He'd made massive assumptions of what they were. His opinion had come from seeing trailers for the movies.
Wow.
And I said, well, what about movies that he's produced, like The Black Klansman,
Whiplash.
several other movies I mentioned? And he was like, oh, yeah, but they're not horror. I said, no, what you said was all of his movies are shit, despite you not seeing any of the horror movies. And I said, Get Out and Unfriended.
Oh, yeah.
Totally different. Same genre. Totally. It's like, oh, it just uses the conventions. Like, everybody who makes a horror movie makes conventions. Every director has their style, works generally within a genre, and has a certain kind of narrative line that they tend to follow to the majority of their product. And I'm like, but he didn't direct a load of these movies. He didn't write a load of these movies. He produced his production company. So I'm like, that's just fucking stupid. It's really stupid.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, there is that thing where a lot of people who haven't seen the movies, they tend to have an opinion on it.
And they think that the movies, you've said this before too, they think the movies are made just for them.
Yes.
The movies are made for a wider audience. The most dangerous thing you can do in Hollywood is just make a product for your hardcore audience.
Right.
Because your hardcore audience will always be smaller than a wider audience, just purely by definition.
Yeah.
So you may retain those, but also if you make a film specific for your target audience and they reject it, then you're truly screwed. That is just bad business.
Yeah,
Simply
absolutely.
bad business. You want to try and keep them happy, but it's not exclusively for a fan base. And that goes for every single kind of movie.
Every single.
But also, there is no one particular type of Star Wars fan. There is no one particular type of slasher fan. Everybody likes something different in a movie. Something that one person will like, someone else might dislike. And, there is no proven formula for a film being a success. And don't forget, a lot of shit movies go on to make a lot of money.
Yes.
So there's no hard math behind it.
No, there isn't.
But people like Blumhouse, people like Lucasfilm, people like Disney, Marvel, DC. They know there's a recipe here. It's about what else you add in to make it a bit different. But that recipe, it's a fucking sponge cake. You can put currants in it. You can put cherries in it. It's still a sponge cake.
But I have found that the
I always
Star
talk about
Wars,
cake.
You do.
I talk about cake a lot. I suddenly realised.
Yeah. Have your cake. And
There you
eat
go.
It too.
Oh, yeah.
You are the host.
Thank you.
But I find that the Star Wars fans, like for a while, it used to be the Marvel fans.
Oh, yeah.
And then the DC. But Star Wars has
so bad,
above
too,
and beyond. Like they've gone to such harshness, like what happened with is it Kelly Marie Tran?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. What happened with her? And I mean, but this is all fans. Now, people will argue, well, that's just a small part of us. I agree with you 100%, but they are the loudest.
Yeah.
And they're actually not the nicest, and they think that these movies should be made for them. And they will complain about everything.
The movie is made for them when the testing sets in.
Yeah.
And you get the responses. When you're on set, the directors are not thinking about the fans. I've yet to find a director who genuinely is like, they care about the fans, they will listen to what the fans say, but they're going to make the best movie to make the best money, because box office is bottom line. And sometimes it doesn't work out right.
No.
Sometimes the box office doesn't come.
No, it doesn't. And sometimes the movie doesn't align up with your years of theories.
Yeah,
either.
but you know what? That theories, it's not real.
Yeah,
Star Wars is not a documentary.
It's your theory.
Not a documentary. So let's look at some of the
I
guys in the
thought it
chat
was.
talking about this. Oh, God, I burst your bubble. Welcome back. Elias Connolly in the chat saying, I think the blame for Solo's poor box office figures, aside from the director change and the bad-mouthing fans, with the fact that it had to compete with Infinity War and Deadpool 2. I think that's true. I mean, personally, I actually really enjoyed Solo. It's far from perfect. It's kind of mid-table, upper mid-table for me in the Star Wars universe. It's certainly not the best film, but I did enjoy it. And yeah, I think the whole thing about how Solo got his name was terribly done. But
that
you know what?
was so
I'm
stupid.
a middle-aged man.
Yeah, but it didn't.
So
Why
it
did
doesn't-
it bother
I
you
don't-
so much?
I don't know.
It was
I
so
just-
dumb.
Why?
It stood out. Like,
Well,
it was
I-
just it was like such a throwaway scene.
It's great to have a passion for something,
don't
but
know
I mean,
why.
I've spoken to many directors, and they're like, if your life is so attached and so involved to something where something like that will break you, you need to look at your life. You genuinely do. I'm all for having a passion, and I'm all for fandom, and I'm all for absolutely getting behind. But it's like, I remember a couple of months ago, there's a Stranger Things kid, and there was someone that'd done a whole day of press. I think it was in New York, and they were tired, and they were going back to the hotel, and someone started shouting shit at them, saying like, "I made you." I'm like, you didn't make them. Their hard work, their parents getting up and taking them to auditions at like 3 a.m, them doing 7 days
I
on set.
made you.
You didn't make. What are you, fucking Dr. Frankenstein?
Yeah.
Put
yeah.
your tools away, man, baby.
Alive.
Yeah, I
It's
want to talk more.
alive.
Like, why you thought his
But other
getting
people
his blessings
saying,
was
Dan Flicken just saying, yes, Solo had a $250 million budget and made $392 million world. Talk about fail. Yeah, it was. I mean, it was a failure. But I've seen, lots of movies that are not great movies do very good box office, and some great movies do nothing. This is from Westy Kid. Kylo Ren was the advantage, but Darth Vader looks better than him, and his merchandise sells quicker. Yeah, a lot of it's about merchandise.
It is.
Scott Menzel, you appear to be duplicated. You're in the chat.
You're in the chat. What did you say?
It's good to see you giving your full attention to the show. Welcome back. Jesus. Sky Patterson. I believe that if I was running Lucasfilm, unfortunately, just to push judgmental fans, I would release Star Wars Episode 9 in 2021, then do 2 more films in 2023 and 2025, then reboot in 2028 and call it a day. I don't think we're going to see a Star Wars reboot. I think we're going to see the family grow.
No.
I don't think we're going to see a reboot anytime.
No,
There's
I hope
It's
not.
one of the franchises that isn't going to get that.
No reboot.
Dylan Ficken just saying Star Wars fans are as critical of directors as DCEU fans are of Rotten Tomatoes aggregate scores from the overall critics. Yeah, it's like
Touche,
touche.
touche.
So no, I think it's 100% true, but no surprise in the slowdown there.
No.
And I think it's right. They're doing the right thing to regroup now rather than push any more out.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Okay, first look at Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker this week. The character we now know is called Arthur. Not a remake of the Dudley Moore movie. Not a remake of the Russell Brand movie. Yes, Russell Brand made an Arthur movie.
Yes, he did.
Pretty much everybody missed that.
Yeah, even Greta Gerwig, she wanted to offer filmography.
So what about those images of Joaquin Phoenix this week? And we've obviously seen some set photos that have come out this week as well. Tell me about that.
This looks real. I'm really hyped for this movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, Joaquin Phoenix, I mean, he's such an amazing actor, and we've talked
is.
about this before.
Absolutely.
He's done so many different characters, but he doesn't feel meta like Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
And I really just think that this is a very unique take. It's something that's wildly different from any Joker character that we've seen before, and it feels like a fresh take.
If
You do not feel the same way.
Hey, I saw the
Hey,
picture
hey,
and I'm
hey.
like, it looks like Joaquin Phoenix in a blazer.
Movie magic.
Well,
There you go.
Movie magic.
Wait, what picture are you looking at? Because I only saw the one picture of Joaquin Phoenix. They didn't show him as the Joker.
No. They've shown him as this character that he's hasn't
Arthur.
become. Arthur.
Yeah.
He hasn't become the Joker.
So I'm like, okay. My question is, if there's anybody online who is a real DC fan, there is
you opened
a
that Pandora's
story-
box.
Well,
no.
You're on the wrong show, Demetri.
No. I asked because if I'm correct, from reading the comics, there is a character, Arthur, who becomes the Joker, and he's like a failed comedian. And I'm wondering if that's what they're basing this off of. There you go.
Joaquin Phoenix there, a voice
The
from
voice
above.
of God.
You know what I'm talking
voice of
about.
God has spoken.
No one heard me.
Yeah.
But here I am. All right, yeah.
You know what?
I
I
said
have
it
a
was.
call coming in from the United Kingdom. So I need to, pardon me, I got the UK calling.
Totally fine.
So
yeah,
if
you
don't
you
mind.
take that. You come
Okay,
back.
no problem.
Okay, so
I missed it.
Spoiler.
Oh, well.
Okay.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, so I think, I mean, personally, I'm actually really enjoying the fact that we're not seeing him. Every single time when the movies come out, we've seen the character as the Joker.
Right.
And I'm really enjoying the fact that we're going to go on
Well,
on a different journey.
Wouldn't it be nice if we actually never seen him as the Joker before the movie came out?
Yeah, do you know, I agree with you, yes. But I think there's a large amount of the audience that will go to a Joker movie and they want to see the Joker. They want a little bit of story. They want some juxta in there.
But we did see Jack Napier as Jack Napier prior to him falling in the Axis chemical.
I think if you take it all the way through the movie and it's either the final third or that last crescendo where you really see him as the Joker, you're going to give a lot of audience member, sort of box office blue balls because they want the Joker. So you should give them the Joker. But I do like the fact that we're going to see him pre-Joker.
Yeah.
That I do think that, and I think they can do something really interesting and really different with that.
Right.
And I think we're always complaining, and this is endemic in lots of franchises. We're always complaining, and fans also complain that sometimes when you get the same thing repeated over and over and over again, it's like, I want something different. I want something different. And then, and we've seen this too, when you give them something different, they're like, that's not the same. I don't want it. I want more of the same. So you can't please everybody.
Right. No.
But I think this is the right path that they're taking. And if it is an origin story, you need a fucking origin. You can't just go like, hey, well, yeah, something happened. Oh, it's okay. You need to explore that part of the narrative. That's the whole reason for making the movie.
You do, and DC has given the Joker many kinds of different origins, and I think part of the mystique of the Joker is that they don't really know where or who he came from. Like if you look, particularly if you look at the Nolan series, right?
Yes.
They made a point in The Dark Knight Returns to not nobody knew where this guy came from, who he was. The Joker himself kept on changing his story about how he got his smile, and that was something that was part of the comic lore up until, and again, and I forget which series it was, whether it was Year One or something, where they bring this Arthur in, who's a failed comic trying to take care of his wife, I think is pregnant, and there's a whole thing going on, but then the Joker becomes this Red Hood character. There's a whole lore around there's one character alone. So if they're going to put it in film, now they're making this canon.
Well, there's some really interesting chat about this. This is always a topic that gets a lot of action in the chat. Zeno is saying this movie is taking influence from the Killing Joke graphic novel. Sky Patterson saying Todd Phillips' Joker is a standalone film that takes place in 1981 Gotham City. It's a film that will exist under Warner Brothers' new banner called DC Dark. Absolutely correct in that. John Harrison saying I wish Paul Thomas Anderson was directing Joker. That'd be interesting, but I have a love-hate relationship with PTA.
Oh, me too.
Some of his stuff I love. And this is why I
him.
don't understand. A lot of people are like, no, films by director are all brilliant. I'm like, some of the best directors in the industry turn out some stinkers for me.
Oh my God.
I think PTA is one of those, an amazing filmmaker, but sometimes his stuff just don't land for me at all. It makes me quite angry. Ricky DeVilla saying, I have no idea how I feel or what it'll be like, but also saying the most exciting thing about this Joker project, and I think Ricky's comment is especially valid, and I think this is something we lack a lot in Hollywood, is I have no fucking idea how it will turn out, and that I won't have to worry for a single minute about the tie-ins to other films. I 100% agree.
Right.
Yes.
I 100% agree. sometimes we know too much about movies, the narrative they're taking, the line they're taking. I really miss the days of we don't really find stuff out about movies
Until we go there.
until we either it's super close to it being released, or we actually sit our asses down when we paid our, back in the day, $8 to sit, now $15, sit down, and that the credits roll, the movie starts, and the whole thing is a surprise. And I think we lose some of the magic of what the filmmakers put into these things by the fact we go in there and we know jump scares, or we know character twists, or we know what's going to happen, or we know, like the trailer for Mile 22, basically the whole movie cut down to 2 minutes.
Right.
And I'm just like, I just think I really miss this. I'm actually, aside from having to talk about it on the show, I'm trying to steer clear of this because I want to come to this, as clean as possible. I do want to do that.
And the thing is, too, outside of watching the trailer, I do my best to stay away from reading stuff online. Like, oh, look, this is the new ship that's in Star Wars, or this is the cast of characters in this. And I really try to, I don't need to know that. And I've talked about this before. I hate online sites that tell me these are the things that need to be and you'll see them here.
Yeah.
These are 5 things that need to be in the Joker movie.
Yes.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
No, it just needs to be a good movie. No, they don't need to be in the movie.
Yeah, if it's a new take, it's like everything's out, bring in the new things. Just want to check. We're seeing 10 minutes on the clock, Anthony. We started at just after 9:10. If we go for, it's currently 9:50. If we can just extend that, thanks, man. Okay, so let's move on to. Anything else you guys want to say on that? Again, this is something that a lot of people in the chat are actually really talking about. Darren Flicken just saying, I wonder if they'll include a different Harley Quinn. I don't want them to. This is a Joker movie. Keep it about the Joker.
Yeah.
And this is not just a DC thing. This is also in a lot of other franchises.
Stop trying to branch off.
Stop trying to branch off, but stop trying to squeeze stuff in. And again, they did it with, The Conjuring 2, where they squeezed in The Nun last minute so they could do a standalone movie. I thought that was overcredited. So many movies now, they try to overstuff it.
Right.
And I think sometimes we see that with even Infinity War, which was meant to be a really big ensemble piece.
Oh, yeah.
When sometimes you have perhaps just a handful too many people in there, you don't get to service them correctly, and the whole film suffers for that.
The movie that suffers the most from this, and I know it did not do well at the box office, was The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
I thought you were going to say Show Dogs.
Show Dogs. Okay. Unfortunately. But
Show Dogs too.
Yeah, that one, too much. It caused them to go out of business 2 weeks ago. Anyway, that was one where they set up so much. They were cramming so much into a movie, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna have it, and then we're gonna throw the scene in the end, and it's gonna make a whole spin-off movie, and blah 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 blah," and it never happened.
No,
because it just felt so out of sync the entire movie. You're like, "Yeah, this is going on, this is going on, this is going on," and you never got to really feel or get to know anything that was going on in the film. It just felt like a fucking clusterfuck.
Not only was that overfull, I think there was horribly miscast in many ways.
Yeah,
Paul
Giamatti as the Rhino.
Yeah,
which was for no reason.
Right.
For no reason.
Didn't
It was
even
top
need
and
the
tail,
camera.
which is a shame.
Yeah.
Jack Miller saying, we're going to move on from this in a second. Jack Miller saying, though I'm pretty pumped to see it, the Joker as a character shouldn't have an origin. That's part of the mystery of the character. We shouldn't know why he is what he is. He just is the Joker. I kind of see
Hollywood's
that.
Listening.
I kind of see that, but I actually... sometimes for me, when you don't know the origin, it's just a little bit like... It feels sometimes like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I think, and I get the thing about, it's a mystery, but I think also when you have a character, especially that is interpreted in so many ways by so many people and so beloved, it's not, you can then apply that to every character.
But can I use an example?
Sure.
Let me bring something up of a franchise that is very near and dear to me, which I love.
Paul Blart Mall Cop.
Yes.
Yeah, I knew that was coming.
You got it. Yeah. Because you didn't need the origin of the bad guy.
Mall Cop. Yeah.
So, I'm talking about Halloween, right? When Rob Zombie took over in his 2 abysmal movies.
Yes.
Yeah.
But he gave Michael Myers an origin story in a sense. Mm-hmm. And it declaws the fact that he had a tough childhood and he had people picking on him and that's why he becomes a serial killer, where it's really not known. In Halloween, it's no, he's just purely and simply evil. There's no reason for it. There's no origin story for it.
Yeah.
Right? And so it sort of kind of took away from the horror of what that character stood for.
Yeah.
So if you do that with the Joker, especially now that it's going to be on film.
Yeah.
Because that is going to be it. It's on film. We've seen it. It's shot. That's it. It's canonized. Going forward, when we see the Joker, depending on how well this movie does, right? That's what people will look at.
But the thing is,
I agree and I disagree.
Yeah,
because,
I'm the same.
Because essentially, when it comes to comic book movies, there's so many different versions of the character, and that's the way that they can get away with as much shit as they do.
And you can't have something different if you're going to have the same, and the same would be another retread of where we know that he's the Joker. So it's 6 of one and half a dozen of the other.
It's
I
like
think.
with Halloween and Michael Myers.
But it's a valid point.
Yeah, it's a valid point, but with Michael Myers, like, what they tried to do with that was they took a character that was so beloved and so established and tried to freaking reinvent the wheel on something that there has been no other sources made. They tried to create something.
Yeah.
At least with this, they can kind of go through all the different versions of the Joker and say, okay, we're going to pull a little bit from this, or we're going to pull a little bit from that, and kind of make it their own.
I get it, but I think part of the lore and what DC has done through the years is they've given that character a mystery.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's kept the readership, what's kept the character of the Joker so popular. So then, yes, you can see various things happen, or they can say this character is it, or he could be the Red Hood in one thing, but we don't really know. We just have these various storylines, story times, and that's what makes the character such a mystery, where the person that he's fighting is Batman. They really don't change that origin at all. Like, even as many times as they've rebooted it, his parents are still gonna die. Like, that's what's gonna happen.
Spoiler.
So, you know, you've got the constant against the person that comes out of nowhere who's evil.
Zeno Hour saying, and I'm assuming that Zeno Hour is joking on this, what's this Rob Zombie's Halloween movie you claim to exist?
I know.
Most people don't acknowledge it.
If you don't know it exists, keep it that way.
Yes. I agree.
I'll just
Because
say
if you
that.
don't, it'll make you very angry.
It's not so much a curio, his movies. They're more like Curie-Nose.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to one more story before we... I mean, there's so much stuff we haven't touched on. We'll touch briefly, perhaps, on some of them. But the first one I want to talk about is Nicolas Cage wanting to do a Blumhouse movie. And Jason Blum already has an idea. I don't know where this story came from. I don't know where this story came from.
Where did this
I mean, it's a great story. It's been picked up by a lot of movie sites this week. I don't know. Some kind of... Yeah.
I don't know. Was it Forbes?
It was Forbes, basically. The origin for this story, and I have to credit Slash Film were one of the outlets that gave me credit for this story this week, so I really appreciate it. Thank you. That is a professional courtesy.
Peter Scaretta is a man.
Peter, I really appreciate it. Peter and Chris, who actually ran with the story, and they talked about it on the podcast this week. I do appreciate it. It's professional courtesy, and I'd like to see more of that, so thank you so much for that. Nicolas Cage, I spoke to him for Forbes to do with the release of Mandy.
Right.
We were talking about low-budget movies, the fact that he's doing quite a few of these things and sort of stuff that's more experimental. And I posed the idea. I said, so if you're moving in this arena, people who are doing really well in that area and obviously doing well theatrically is Blumhouse. So I said, would you work with Blumhouse? Turns out Nick is a really big fan of Blumhouse. He would really like to work with them. Just so happened that also last Friday, I was catching up with Jason again at the launch of Halloween Horror Nights, which, by the way, Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Studios Hollywood is excellent this year, so do check that out.
I got my tickets.
It's so good. It's so good. Really, Stranger Things maze, the Poltergeist maze, the Halloween 4 maze, Universal Monsters I really love. Not a lot of people are giving that a lot of love. I did enjoy that. Super year this year. So I spoke to Jason. I said, look, Nick and I spoke this week, and he's told me that he wants to be in Blumhouse. He was absolutely delighted. He's a massive fan of Nick Cage. I mean, who isn't? And so he was like, yeah, and I've got an idea already. So he told me what he would do with Nick Cage. This story obviously sort of got out. People picked up on it, which was ace. I sent it out to a few people as well to highlight it. I thought they might be interested. So yeah, Nicolas Cage doing a Blumhouse movie. And even Slash Film are like, take a story, back it up, get a response of the other side, put it out there, which is what I did. It means that rather than someone pie in the sky thing going, I'd like to be Batman, would you do a Marvel movie? You back it up and you get a response from the other side. Do you guys think that if Nick Cage did a Blumhouse movie, that would be great? And I think, personally, this would give him an absolute career resurrection that he really needs. He's doing interesting stuff with the likes of Mandy, but I think this would put him back on the big screen.
I also remember Mom and Dad, which he was awesome in. Did you see that?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it was freaking great.
A lot of people didn't like that movie, but I
Really?
thought he was great in it. Yeah.
It was so over the top, but it was such a great Nick Cage movie,
Yeah.
and him and Selma Blair. Perfect.
Maximum Cage.
Yeah. We've talked about this.
We have.
I'm very excited for this. I think, he is an actor who has kind of lost his way. He started off kind of doing action movies and dramas and all. First
Valley Girl.
comedies, yeah, like
Valley
comedies,
Girl was
dramas, action, and then he just kind of fell into like D-movie territory where he was just
Yeah.
making shit after
And
shit
some
after
terrible,
shit.
like the one where the rapture with the people on the plane.
Oh my
which
God.
is just one of the
Yeah.
worst films I've ever seen in my entire life.
Well, I mean, he had some. I mean,
I love Nick Cage, but that was awful.
Right.
But he had some monetary issues.
Yeah.
He did.
So he had to work. I mean, that's just the bottom line.
Welcome
Welcome back.
yes.
So but I agree. I mean, why doesn't he play Rourke from Fantasy Island?
Yeah?
There you go.
I mean,
Do you see, I think a Blumhouse movie, if he did a Blumhouse movie and he put himself back on the map really and proved that he could be part of something that does bring some serious box office, then I think we'll see him getting roles like Rourke. But I think until then, he needs something to reprove himself a little bit.
yeah, I agree.
I think he'd be great. I'd love to see him in a Blumhouse movie.
Same here.
I think he could do his maniacal stuff, but reined in ever so slightly.
Well,
But
he
something that's
doesn't-
really fun and
He
campy.
doesn't have to be maniacal. That's the thing. People forget that he can be.
But we like him when he's
good actor.
maniacal.
But he could be somebody's dad. He could be an action hero.
That was
I mean,
Jason's idea, that
Yeah.
he's the dad of a young boy or a teenager who has something terrible happen to them, and I like that idea.
Yeah.
I mean, Jason
So-
Jason had actually thought about it. So I genuinely think that at some point there's a list in Jason Blum's office. By the way, welcome to Blumhouse Corner.
Yes.
Welcome back.
Welcome back to Blumhouse Corner, where there's a list of people that he wants to work with, and he's kind of got ideas about how to work it in. So, I mean, I think it's great that we could bring these two marvelous people together.
Again, another example of Hollywood is listening. I mean, I really do. I mean, these are facts. I'm not making stuff up. I don't necessarily believe in coincidence. So, I think our fans, I think, believe us.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they? They tune in every week, right? And we don't set them wrong.
Film nerd Jamie saying Nicolas Cage's tattoo in Fantastic Island.
Fantasy.
Do you know what?
Isn't that
No,
nice?
but
No.
also yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's amazing. So I think hopefully they will do something together. I think that would be absolutely amazing. I mean, I would like to see someone's talking about League of Extraordinary Gentlemen being one of their favorite all-time movies, which I think that film gets a terrible rap. It's quite bad, but it's also quite genius. I would love to see Nick Cage, but Nick Cage told me in the interview.
There's a reason why Sean
it's-
Connery isn't working.
It's so
right.
bad,
It's
but I
because of
love
that.
it.
That's what he went out on.
I know,
Yeah.
bring it back. No, but I genuinely, I mean, he was telling me that the one role that he really wants to play is Captain Nemo.
Oh yeah.
No.
He really wants to play Nemo, and he's like, look, if anybody's got a script, got an idea,
Well, I
he's
thought
up
Guillermo
for it.
del Toro was supposed to be doing a
Well,
20,000 Leagues Under
I mean,
the
that
Sea.
was talked about for a long,
On
long
top
time.
of like
I don't,
100 other
Haunted
million
Mansion.
things. Yeah.
I don't know where that is in the shuffle for
Well, he's
Guillermo.
doing the Tales of the Dark movie.
Yeah.
Right.
But we'll see. I think that would be great. And also, I spoke to Jason about the Dark Universe, and he's still very much like, yeah, we'd like to take that on and do that, but there's stuff to talk about. So we'll see what happens with that. Okay, very quickly, we've only got 8 minutes left on the show, and we've got box office and trailers to do as well. Other news this week, Charlie's Angels adding Patrick Stewart as another Bosley. Bosley.
Bosley?
It makes me excited to see the movie a little bit more.
Yeah. I think it's a good idea. I think it's it's fun. Walking Dead movies and more spin-offs in the works at AMC. Movies.
done.
I thought it was dead.
I'm done.
I mean, literally, the ratings have been plummeting.
Yeah.
I just literally thought, like, movies.
I still stick with The Walking Dead. I don't know why. I'm quite looking forward to the next season. I want to see what they want to do when Andrew Lincoln's killed off. Hopefully it'll be a reset and a refresh for the show. I don't think any of those movies would make it to the big screen. I think they're talking about feature-length TV stuff.
Yeah.
If you're doing that, do it and end it. That is me. However, the spin-off, Fear the Walking Dead, is actually better now than it's ever been. Fear the Walking Dead
That's what
is
I heard.
really, really nice. Season 4 is superb. I almost gave up after season 2. Stuck with it for season 3. Glad I did. Season 4, different feel, different timeline within the same universe, but they kind of play with the timeline of where you are for the narrative. It's great. I really enjoy that series. Eddie Murphy to lead a new comedy inspired by grumpy old men.
I see. I'm down for
Really?
it. I'll tell you why. Eddie Murphy, Eddie Murphy to me is one of the all-time great comedians, and he had an amazing career in a time where like you weren't trying to put people of color in movies. Like it wasn't being, and how do I put this? Like he was popular for being Eddie Murphy and being funny.
We talked about this, yes.
So something happened along the way.
Yeah.
And he became unfunny. And it wasn't just because I can understand doing family films and not doing R-rated comedies anymore. But something just happened.
I actually blame Nutty Professor because I feel like the first one, because that was the one that kind of launched him into this almost like raunchy but like still sort of family friendly fare. And then he went on to do the second one, which was just atrocious.
Yeah.
And then he went to do Norbit and all these other terrible
like he
films.
did all these other movies, and in the way I feel, and maybe it's just pure nostalgia talking.
Yeah.
He still has a funny movie.
But wouldn't you rather him have an original movie? Like I hate these. Like,
I blame Norbit. I just put it all on Norbit.
Or Pluto Nash.
Okay.
Pluto Nash.
Come on. I mean, like, all I'm saying is, if this is what's going to, like, there's nothing saying that
this is not going to reinvent his career. I hate to tell you
I'm not
that.
saying reinvent, but it could be funny. I mean, I'm just looking for him to
Walter
have
Matthau and Jack Lemmon.
Guys,
like,
yeah, no, it's true. I've just got a couple of things to get through.
I agree there.
Josh Gad and Paul Walter Hauser campaign to play the Penguin in the Batman.
Perfect choice.
I would take either of those.
Well, I think Josh Gad would be great. I was always rooting for Philip Seymour Hoffman, but obviously is no longer with us. Rest in peace.
But also Paul Walter Hauser, amazing in Black Klansman.
Oh,
Amazing in
yes,
Black
yes,
Klansman.
yes. That's
Superb.
the guy from I, Tonya?
Yes.
Oh,
He was in
yeah,
I, Tonya
yeah,
as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And people are asking
Same
about this,
character,
so want to touch
both
on it very,
movies.
very quickly. The Red Sonja movie back on track with Bryan Singer directing. It's a no from me.
It's a no from me.
It's a no from me.
Yeah.
Didn't really love the original. I understand there's obviously a comic interpretation as well. I'm sorry, I'm a no on Bryan Singer.
Yeah,
I'm just
me too.
not a massive fan of the majority of his work. Some stuff he's done was great. I'm just kind of, there's plenty of other people who could do this way better,
Right.
so I'm a no for me.
Right.
Okay, let's talk about trailers very quickly before we get to the releases. Did you know Captain Marvel dropped this week?
No way. I didn't see it. It was no build-up by Brie Larson at all. None at all.
Wait, Brie Larson's Captain Marvel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
You know, I thought...
I didn't know.
You didn't know?
Oh, wow. And there's a
She was
trailer?
she was on the Entertainment Weekly cover, you know. There was
Thoughts?
Oh, you know what? My subscription
ran out.
lapsed.
Oh, yeah.
Thoughts on the trailer, guys?
Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
It's Marvel's Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it is. I
But-
mean, it's really well done.
I
It's
mean,
great.
it looks so badass.
Yeah.
And I mean, Brie Larson just, she fits this role so perfectly.
it's great.
And the fact that this movie is going to really expand her career and
agree.
open so many more doors
I
for
agree,
her
yeah.
because she's so underrated as an actress as it is.
Yeah.
So I can't freaking wait. I'm so
I'm
pumped.
looking forward to it.
The thing that really, really excited me about it is the fact there are so many different ideas and angles in there, and just so many things to think about. But it doesn't give you too much of any one thing,
No.
and I like that.
I
like
agree
that.
with you, but we also know that that character is going to factor heavily in Infinity War.
We all
too.
we know.
That is
We
true.
know.
Mary Poppins and the Philosopher's Stone. What do you think about that this week? I fucking hated Mary Poppins.
The original one.
I genuinely, I hate that
My
movie.
wife actually feels the same way.
I
She's
hate
like
it.
she never got through it.
Absolutely hate it, but I'm really looking forward to this.
Me too.
I love the original Mary Poppins. I really do. This second trailer, yeah, I'm all in. I think Emily Blunt, she's not so much looking to recreate Julie Andrews. She's
Right.
just playing Emily, you know, and so I like that. I also love the marketing of this from a print campaign, because the poster also dropped this week
Yes,
too.
yes.
And that poster has the old school 60s, 70s Walt Disney like look to it, where it's just great artwork the character is front and center with all these little glimpses of potential scenes in the movie, and the title is right there in the middle.
Yeah.
It's great. It just brought me
Nice
back.
throwback.
It's a great throwback. I think they're doing a wonderful job marketing this movie. I can't see this movie missing at all.
No, I think it's going to be an absolutely massive hit.
Yeah.
If I was anything else, I just want to get out of the way of this
Oh, I
movie
know.
this
Yeah.
holiday season. Okay, very, very quickly. Movies out this weekend. It's not exactly a blockbuster weekend. Assassination Nation is opening. Very mixed reactions to that movie. Have you guys seen either?
I
of them?
have not.
I fucking hated it.
Okay, so that's a no.
So you didn't just hate it.
I fucking hated it.
Okay, so
with
ano-
a passion.
Another one that's splitting people this week. I say splitting. Not getting a very good review. Life Itself. Did you see this?
I did. Did you see it?
I did not see it.
I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it.
That is rare.
Yeah.
A lot of people
I
are really
know,
hating
I
it.
know a lot
But
of people
you're a
really
white male critic.
and I'm not supposed to like it based on Dan Fogelman.
I'm
but
curious about
I
it,
like
but-
it, Dan Fogelman. Don't worry, I got your back, buddy.
Previews 100,000 last night. It's looking at a weekend of 5.2. It's going to be top 10, but it's not going to be doing particularly well. Fahrenheit 11.9, the new movie from Michael Moore, new documentary. Obviously, it is not pro-Trump, so I'm guessing that's going to be a bit of the audience out the window. Previews of 250,000, looking at a weekend of 6. It's going to be mid-table, mid to upper table in the box office this week. Did you guys get to see this?
I haven't seen that one yet.
I wanted to see it, but unfortunately...
You didn't see it?
No, I did not see
Why?
it.
I saw all this. It was great. I mean, this is a wake up call to America. If we don't have one enough
But here's the thing.
All right,
I
yeah,
want to
guys,
see
we're
it.
running out of time.
No, I want to see it. I really do. But I think it's preaching to a choir. It's not going
course
to
it is.
convert
Yeah.
anybody.
But
and it'll only make the people who are in that choir more enraged than we actually
I do
are.
want to say something really, really quick. So, yes, I agree with you. But this is an angry film. This is not. You think that Michael Moore is liberal and a Democrat?
Yep.
This movie attacks Democrats and liberals. That's
Okay.
all I want to say.
Fair enough.
There's quite a few documentaries out there right now, and no, I would have loved to have seen this, but unfortunately the PRs did not reach out to me. The House with a Clock in Its Walls. Got to be very careful how you say that. That looks like it's going to top the box office this weekend. Hashtag
That's
House,
a different movie.
House with a Clock in Its Walls. 840,000 in previews. That's more than Goosebumps did, the last similar movie that had Jack Black in it. It's looking at a weekend of 21 million. That's probably going to come out on top. Didn't get to see this week, unfortunately. I had people in from out of town. Guys, did you see this? What
I
did you
did
think?
not actually. See
I
this
did.
one.
You
You're
saw
right.
it?
Oh
I
my-
saw it last night. I did. I saw this movie last night. It's fun. It's definitely R.L. Steinish. It's made for the families. It's interesting to see Eli Roth not tempered down, not using gore. He does an okay homage to movies of similar ilk that are sort of kind of in the 80s.
Yeah.
However, for me, there was a little bit of a pacing issue. The third act suffers from Bondy, villainous, plotty, and it's a little bit infantile. You'll get what I'm saying when you see the movie, but all in all, Jack Black and Cate Blanchett together are fantastic. Eli Roth really knows how to direct them, and it's a great pairing, and the kid's pretty decent too, and he directs the kid really well.
It's good to hear, because there's another movie that I know Eli and a friend of mine who's a screenwriter been working on for quite some time, and the success of this movie might be a factor on whether that one gets made. So fingers crossed this will do well.
There is something that's very important about
very quickly.
this, is that you have to go see this movie at an IMAX theater location, because you'll get an amazing bonus, and that bonus is you'll get to see Michael Jackson's Thriller, directed by John Landis, in its entirety, in 3D, in IMAX. Let me tell you what an amazing time it was to watch that featurette. And it's on before all IMAX prints of A Clock.
Really?
And who doesn't love amazing bonus at the weekend? That's fantastic. Okay, so the
can
box
only
office,
hope that
the box
I
office is looking at Fahrenheit 11.9 in 5th place, Predator in 4th place, The Nun in 3rd place, Simple Favor. Go and see it. Apparently, very
loved
good,
it.
getting a lot of good reviews.
Good times.
And then Clock coming out on top, which is fantastic. Guys, thank you so much indeed. We've literally run out of time. We're bending time to fit this in. Thank you so much, Demetri. Who are you? Where can we find you?
You can find me here at Beat the Movie Press, where Hollywood is listening, and you'll have a good time too. Popcorn Talk Network's Anatomy of a Movie, where we will be talking eventually about A Clock on the Walls, and today, A Simple Favor, as you just brought up, and The Predator 2.
Since I go on too long, just catch me at 11 a.m. on LAOFC Weekly. That's it.
You don't go on too long. Your bio goes on too
Yeah,
long. My name. You're great. You just do too much stuff. Can you be less busy? My name is Simon Thompson. This is Meet the Movie Press. You can find me at Showbiz Simon on Instagram and Twitter. This show also has a Twitter now. Meet Movie Press at Meet Movie Press. Please spread the word. We really appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in this week. As always, if you like the show, tell your friends. We need more people to watch this show. We need that to make it worth us being
all the
here.
people who are
we
on
really
right now.
appreciate it. Everybody
Thank
here.
you.
Thank you, everyone, for watching.
Bring one new person to the show next week. We'll be back next week. Thank you so much, guys. Have a great week.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of its owners or principals.